It's been a long time since we podcasted together, Tom.
It really has. How long has it been?
Months and months.
It feels like months and months.
And in that time, I hope that you have had a handle on your many and sundry anxieties. How are you feeling?
I'm glad that we have a season 3. Still working on some stuff.
Lots of headroom on this concept. Lots of headroom. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad. Do you remember when we finished our season 2, you left me with a little present?
Yes, I did.
I did. And that you thought we should all go to the Ukraine.
Correct.
And bury ourselves alive with that wackadoodle doctor who thinks that's a good thing.
Yes.
And so I would like to open season 3 with a little present for you.
Oh.
Look around your space there, Tom. You see all the surfaces, all the many surfaces?
Yeah. There's a desk. Yeah. There's some books. There's a bookcase. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like
keyboard. Do you see your keyboard in front of you?
Yeah. It's good.
It's gross.
Keys.
Maybe a mouse or a trackpad. You're touching that all day.
All of these things. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what they all have in common?
Joy?
All covered in poop, Tom.
What?
Everything you touch is covered in poop. You know who says so? Canada.
Canada? No one believes Canada. And really, we're back to poop. Season poop 3, we're going all the way back to Canada poop. All right.
Deep roots, Tom. Deep roots. This is out of the BC Center for Disease Control, Jennifer Gardy. She's a senior scientist there, and she's telling us all about all the crap that's on all your stuff.
Oh.
Because you should know about that. And you know what? She's actually trying to reduce anxiety, which I think is comically sweet that she's trying to do this. Here's what she says.
Why?
And this is her talking. Literally everything in the world is covered in bacteria, Gardy said in a telephone interview. All of these studies that go and look and say, oh, we found fecal coliform bacteria on the touchscreens at McDonald's. We found it on cafeteria screens. We found it on the ATM screens on your bank. You can't not find fecal coliform bacteria.
Oh!
It's everywhere. You can't not find it. I know. She says that she likes to say basically all of us are existing in a world that's pretty much coated in a thin film of fecal bacteria.
That's terrible.
Oh, dear. Every surface in your home, it's covered. Your toothbrush sitting on the counter, the handle is covered in this bacteria. Swab the handle of refrigerator. And I think she's saying under her breath, I dare you. She says, if you swab your kitchen countertop, the pet's water dish, you'll find fecal coliform bacteria everywhere. Whoa, how are you feeling? Good?
Terrible. What am I supposed to do with this?
This is where we set the bar for season 3, Tom. It's everywhere, and you can't do anything about it.
That's it?
And so she wraps it up. Yeah, no, that's it. She says, and this is her trying to wrap it up and be nice and sweet. And one of the things that we're realizing is that exposure to microbes, especially those sort of harmless things that are just out there in the environment, is actually incredibly important for our immune system to develop properly.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Right? That's good.
Sure.
And I say, fine, but why in God's name do we have to keep talking about it?
It's a good question. And I'd answer it right after I finish drinking all of this Purell.
Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing roofs, your painted red shakes the room.
Welcome back to What's That Smell? A sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Tommy Metz III.
And I'm Pete Stupid. Who writes these? Who does that?
Foster, bad dog. And each week, we drag out one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Reach out to us. Again, like we did last season, this season, we want to hear from you. Send us the story of your anxieties to... Man, we had months to change this. Send us the story of your anxieties to somethingstinky@whatsthatsmell.net. Again, somethingstinky at whatsthatsmell.net. I don't care for it. And with that, Pete, I will go first.
Bright sand, straight toward the warm sun and into his hands. I'll let my feet roll. I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control.
Sports, sports, sports! Pete, as everyone who knows me knows well, I'm a real sports hound.
That's a thing. Is that what they call you, a sports hound?
Dr. Sports Hound. That would be my name if I was a morning zoo radio host.
Oh, Awooga!
Awooga! Dr. Sportshound back with the cheese. That would be my sidekick. Pete, as you know, I'm a real sports hound, throwing around the old pigskin on the links and sinking a three-pointer triple axel slap shot for an alley-oop touchback. Well, that's just my idea of heaven. Here's a quick sports story for you.
So gross.
When I was about 10 years old in Colorado, I was playing in a soccer league called BJS, Boulder Junior Soccer. And the coach of the team was the father of one of my classmates. And during our first practice, the dad coach had us play a scrimmage against each other so we could see what our strengths were. We played for about 45 minutes while he stood off to the side making notes on a clipboard. I played at my usual ability level, which is low. Anyways, he had us huddle up around him so he could tell us what positions we'd be playing later that week in our first game. And I happened to be standing next to the coach as he was talking to us, and I happened to glance down at the clipboard he was holding. All of our names were neatly listed in order, and he jotted down a bunch of notes after each name. And as anyone would probably do, my eyes skipped down to my own name. And it was easy to find because unlike the other names, there were only 2 words written next to mine, Pete.
Oh, no.
Would you like to know what they were? This is my future in soccer.
Yeah.
Not useful. And that's true. Not useful. I was a child, Pete. No, he could have just written nothing. I mean, I guess it could be worse. He could have written like loping moron, but either way.
Active antagonist, most likely to score on his own team.
Yeah, exactly. Disappear him. What? I don't even know what that means, but it sounds ominous.
Rendition.
Yeah. Anyways, not useful. Great. Obviously, those words stuck. I'm in my 40s, and I remember exactly, I think, the font. And they really only help solidify what I already had thought of myself in regards to playing sports growing up. I was never a natural athlete, and for the most part, I hated it because it filled me with so much anxiety and dread. And that brings us to my anxiety for this week, which is anxiety about playing sports. I looked it up online, and it actually has a really interesting clinical name, sports anxiety. That's true, too. It's just sports anxiety. Before I get into a little bit more of my own situation, can you identify with this, or were you actually an aforementioned sports hound?
Oh, Tom, that's delightful that you know so little about me that you even need to ask.
Well, you seem like you're in control of your limbs.
That's not accurate. Not at all. Clearly, our recording this over the internet has diminished your ability to understand me and my body.
Okay.
I was also the soccer kid, and I was on a terrific team. I mean, terrific when I was in middle school and won so many games. And as a result, they put me in as goalie because the ball never came to me.
Oh,
it never came to me.
That's right field.
It was like always intercepted and taken back down the field because everybody on the team knew, the coach, the other players, the parents, they knew if the ball made it to the goal, we would lose a point. Absolutely.
It's like when you pull the goalie in hockey. Like, it's just not an option.
Yeah, it's just not even a thing. Yes, unless the ball accidentally is targeted at my face, right? That ball's going in the goal. I was not good at it, and that cemented my experience playing sports. I really detested sports, team sports, all that. I was the theater kid. Like, that's how I found the theater, was running away from athletics.
So that was your sport.
Yeah, it was my sport.
Was sprinting away from sports.
It's even worse because when you get into the theater, they're like, okay, we know that you're running away from sports, so you have to do intramural sports now. And that's going to include options like intramural squash or intramural tennis, where mostly,
Fancy.
We had squash. No, it's not great. Or dance. Yeah, dance. And I was not into any of that and generally chose tennis because that's was the most entertaining. It's where the stoners went for their sport. Yeah. And so it was just me. I could actually win playing intramural tennis because I was playing with people who were constantly high.
Oh, so that's the key.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up tennis because tennis was my other sport, like I had real ownership of any of them. But one of the things that I really liked so much about singles tennis was it was just me. And as a result, there was less of a chance of letting down. I mean, I tried to break it down into what was I really so nervous about. It certainly wasn't I wanted to win. I didn't care. Maybe that was part of the problem.
That's probably part of the problem, yeah.
I didn't care.
I think we've diagnosed something magical today.
I really shrinked myself.
Yeah.
But it was just afraid of scorn from my coaches or mostly just my other players. My teammates in messing something up. That's why doubles at times was such a nightmare, doubles tennis, because there's nothing standing in the way of who made the mistake. It's clearly just me, and I let down my other team. My team is just one other person staring at me, wondering why I'm holding my racket upside down. It felt like almost everyone was better than me.
Oh, yeah.
And so I couldn't find another me to commiserate with. So I felt this goes back to that feeling of aloneness that I know is at the basis of a lot of my anxieties. I was just sort of like, it was just really hard to want to do it.
I was just driving my daughter to school this morning, and she's a swimmer, and she's quite good, and she's got her district swim meet coming up this weekend. And I said, why are you so excited? She says, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to be wonderful on the deck with all those people and to compete and all of that. And it's like she was speaking Greek. Mm-hmm. I had no idea how to relate to that sentiment of having an athletic event in which I am competing and having that be anything but anxiety and dread. Yeah. I can't understand it.
So I assume you punished her.
I'm not letting her go.
Sports are dread. What are you doing? The fact that you brought up your daughter makes me bring up another thing that I know that I was dealing with, at least when I was around 10 years old, is I was afraid of letting down my father.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, everybody. First time daddy issues brought up in the new season. Everybody take a drink. Okay, I assume it's a drinking game, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but my father was a football star in college, and my mom was a star cheerleader. And somehow I got all the recessive genes.
Wow.
My dad, to his credit, never over-pushed me. He was always understanding when I wasn't able to do things. He just wanted me to try. But that didn't take away from the fact that I wanted to be able to share this with him, and I never really could. And of course, I was hiding from him that before each soccer match, I was throwing up. Like I was so nervous and bottled up that I would throw up, and that was like my pregame warm-up. A terrible warm-up. Really gets the blood flowing. And those feelings continued, even in my later days, when I've been asked to play on teams filled with people who don't care about winning and I know won't really judge me, it still has been really hard for me to do because those old feelings and fears are just so dug in that I like the idea of sports. I don't think I like competition because I'm just afraid I'm going to let everybody down.
Which is so interesting because then you find, and this is me speaking of what I know of your history, then you find performance. You find performance, whether it's in music or, in film. Like these are, for all intents and purposes, team activities, right? It's coming together to do a thing, right? So how does that compare to anxiety around thinking about team sports?
And you brought up film, like I have the audacity to be the director.
I know.
Who depending on...
God, what a jerk.
It's just sort of like, well, everybody try your best and it'll be up to me to see how it turns out. No, I just felt more comfortable with that. I'm sure I could, if I knew more about sports, I could make a sports analogy to directing or to performing.
Yeah.
For that, it's more just performance anxiety. I know that seems obvious, but performance anxiety isn't a bad thing. Performance anxiety can sharpen you.
Right.
Sort of everything heightens, gets your adrenaline going. It's that anticipatory, there's nothing I can do about it. That's what just destroyed me about sports. So I don't know the answer to that, but I'm glad to know that the dread that I felt of sports hasn't kept me from, it's not like an overriding social anxiety.
True. Yeah.
It hasn't kept me from the public eye, which is good. But that is something that I regret, is not being able, or letting sports have that sort of take over my mind like that. I just did a very small amount of research in case any of our listeners are budding athletes with anxious thoughts. Mostly everyone says visualizing yourself playing well and having fun. I get it. I never could do that. This one person said, write down all of your individual worries in order to demystify your anxiety and then throw that paper away. The throwing away of the paper seems honestly a little hippy-dippy for me, but I do love the idea of really forcing yourself to really go through your negative thoughts, because otherwise for me, I wish I'd known that as a kid, because they just sort of exist in this big, scary black bubble of anxiety.
Yeah,
and when you really separate it out, it's sometimes not that bad. Actually, I found one more. This is from a website called Complete Performance Coaching. It's run by a sports psychologist expert, Rebecca Smith. And digging a little bit deeper, I actually found she has a podcast. It's called Perform Happy with Rebecca Smith. And it's all about dealing with stress and bullies and anxiety about sports. It's really, Rebecca, where were you? Also, where were podcasts? None of this was a possibility, but this is from the episode 10 Ways to Deal with Negative Thoughts. I don't remember exactly which number this is, but I liked this one. So take a listen.
If you catch yourself thinking negatively, take a second, and that's the key. If you can catch it, oh my gosh, you're gonna be fine. Most people don't even catch it, and then they're just down the toilet and they don't know why. So the second that you go, oh, I'm starting to get nervous again. I'm starting to overthink this. I'm starting to get into what if, or I'm seeing those images of things going wrong. Stop and check in with your body and ask yourself, where am I feeling this sensation? Is it in your throat, your chest, your stomach? Those are kind of the main big ones. When I get anxious, it's my throat. You just check in with it and go, okay, yep, there it is. I'm feeling a sensation in my throat. And you just start to breathe into it. And what we typically do in those situations is we go, oh no, this isn't good. Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. And then you're wrestling with it. And then the negative thoughts are like to getting their claws into your physical body, not just your mind, but now your body's affected. You're running out of energy. You feel horrible. And it just accelerates the negative spiral. So what you do instead to stop it is actually you don't try to stop it. I know, that's strange, but you go into that sensation and you go, what does that feel like? You just go at it with curiosity. You breathe and you just notice what happens. When you pay attention to it, does it get worse or does it get better?
First of all, do you, Pete, feel anxiety in your throat? I've never heard of that before.
Really?
Yeah, in your throat?
Oh, yeah.
What does it feel like? Like you can't breathe?
It's like everything tightens up and suddenly you can't
almost
breathe.
like a panicky. Oh, I guess I don't have that, but I have like rapid breathing. Okay. When she said,
you get it.
I always get it in my throat. I was like, oh my God, Rebecca, that might be serious. That's not anxiety. That's all the tumors. Anyways, I can definitely relate to the idea of avoiding my anxious feelings. Like I had just said, they just stay in this big, dark, black bubble. But then she does go on to say after this clip that it almost always gets better when you really just acknowledge your inner feelings and just really what the physiological responses are. It really reduces the power they have and they almost always go away. And that's something that I've really been trying to do. Do you think that something like that would have helped you back in the day?
Yeah, probably. But, it would have had to have been really well timed because I started experiencing my profound disdain for athletics super early and was just not interested in intervention. Like I found an alternative outlet. And so I just wasn't into it. And so it would have been really hard to get me over the hump of being willing to try because something else filled that hole pretty quickly.
Right. Ugh. I didn't realize
that was not a gross line.
Oh, good. Look, you're the one talking about poop. I didn't realize until much later in my life that there was a choice. So I could definitely have used this. So thank you, Rebecca Smith. If anyone out there is having anxious thoughts about, playing sports, try to find the joy that Pete's daughter does. It really is supposed to be joy. Everything else is getting in the way. And hopefully you can do it and score all of those touchdown baskets. Sports! Woo!
I'd like to introduce a new segment for you today, Tom. I'm very excited about this. Would you like to hear about it?
Absolutely, Pete.
It's called Today's Regret.
Oh, okay.
In Today's Regret, I'd like to cover that one thing that has happened to me today. That one thing that happened to me in real time that caused my world to slow down. It caused shame to well up from my stomach into my chest and caused me to look at the world and want to desperately retreat from it.
That sounds appropriate for an anxiety podcast. Okay, go ahead.
Today's Regret for Pete. My son and I have started playing the Pokemon Go. Do you know about this game?
Yeah, you find magical creatures that aren't there on your phone?
Yeah, you do. Magical creatures not there on your phone. And you have to visit these things. They're called Pokestops. You have to go to a Pokestop and spin this little Pokestop on your phone. And they are located in all kinds of different public places. And one of them happens to be a church that's right next to my daughter's school. Now, I told you I was driving up to school. I had to stop at the church on my way home and pulled in the parking lot. It seemed very, very busy at the parking lot. But I thought, I'm just going to spin the Pokestop and catch a few Pokemon and then I'm going to buzz out of my way. No one's the wiser. And so there I am, sitting there with my phone out, spinning my Pokestop, and someone knocks on the window. They knock on the car window, and they say, "Are you here to unload?"
Oh.
Unload?
I'm here to gather Pokemon, not unload Pokemon.
And I said, I'm afraid I'm not sure. I'm just about to take this call. Oh, well, we're all here for the homeless food bank.
Something you won't regret is going to Audible, because at Audible right now, you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast. Yes, if you put in /scent-of-a-podcast at the end, we get some of your support. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Pete, I have a book suggestion today, and it's only 10 hours long.
Wow, that's really restrained on your part, Tom.
It is fairly brisk, Audible-wise. It is a sport, and it's actually a novella that was a part of the Bachman books. It's Stephen King's The Long Walk. He wrote this back on a nom de plume of Richard Bachman, and it takes place in the near dystopian future where America has become a police state, and every year 100 boys are selected to enter a contest where they have to walk across the country at 4 miles per hour without stopping. 3 warnings, and your insides get on the outside. That's a weird way to say that you're shot. That you're shot in the head, Pete. It is a great book. It is a great novella starring a really, really great cast of characters. It's one of my favorite things that he's ever written. And if I ever had to choose something that I would want to adapt, as for a TV show or a movie, it would be The Long Walk. So that is my suggestion, The Long Walk by Stephen King. It is on Audible, narrated by Kirby Hayborn. So that's a name. It is 10 hours and 45 minutes. So go ahead and don't break up with your loved one. Stay with them and you can listen together.
And you should definitely do that at audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast. And here's the thing. You can get The Long Walk for free. All you have to do is sign up for a trial account and then search for The Long Walk. And once you do that, after you visit audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast, you're signing up for that free trial. You get the book for free. You can keep it if you cancel. Cancel your account and you keep the book. That's how it works. So thank you for supporting the show and supporting a great, great company, audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast.
Speaking of the show, let's get back to it. Pete, you are up.
Tommy, I bring a guest experience with me today.
A listener submission. Fantastic. My favorites.
It starts with Virginia Woolf.
Oh, okay.
Have you, by chance, read the book as a reader? You're a reader. Have you read the book Mrs. Dalloway?
No. I was going through, there's a lot of college books that I read that all have titles like Mrs. Dalloway, and they all kind of blend together. No, I don't think I have. I bet it's super upbeat.
Well, yeah, as could be said for any and all of Virginia Woolf's contributions to the body politic.
So chipper, yeah.
She's delightful. All right. I'd like to read you a passage from Mrs. Dalloway and see if it sparks anything for you. All right. It was toffee. They were advertising toffee, a nursemaid told Razia. Together they spell T-O-F-K-R, said the nursemaid, and Septimus heard her say K-R close to his ear, deeply, softly, like a mellow organ, but with the roughness in her voice like a grasshopper's, which rasped his spine deliciously and sent running up into his brain waves of sound, which, concussing, broke. A marvelous discovery indeed, that the human voice, in certain atmospheric conditions, for one must be scientific, above all scientific, can quicken trees into life.
Oof.
Mrs. Dalloway, what do you think about that? How does that make you feel?
Well, they spelled it wrong. They really blew toffee. It made me feel a lot of things. I don't know what ASMR is, but I think I may have had a little bit of ASMR. Like I got a little tingly. I got uncomfortable at one point. I don't know. It got me a little tingly. Is that okay to say?
Oh, Tom, I have to tell you, I am delighted to hear all of those responses.
Really?
And with that, I would like to introduce our listener's submission today. I shall read it for you post-haste. Hello there, fellow connoisseurs of anxiety. I have a situation that might be of interest to you. I hate ASMR.
You're kidding me.
I know a lot of people. I'm not kidding you. That is exactly what happened here. Now, I know a lot of people don't enjoy ASMR, but this is a full-on hatred. Whenever someone plays ASMR videos, I get such crippling anxiety. I don't know what it is. I just feel so claustrophobic, and it feels like my heart is trying to escape my chest. I've become hyper-aware of any small sounds around me, so I know if something will make me have a reaction, I can run in the other direction. Please help me understand why my body has decided to have such a reaction to something so mundane. Thank you, from Emma, a.k.a. a giant ball of emotional anxiety trying to find help in the void of the internet.
No, let's stick with Emma. No one's going to believe that we don't share what anxieties we're talking about until we actually start recording. That's crazy.
I know, you blew it. What can I say?
No, I nailed it. Why would you go negative?
Right, nailed it. That's what I meant. I totally meant nailed it.
Okay, so what is ASMR? And Emma, thank you so much for sending this. This is already fascinating.
Oh, it is absolutely fascinating. I love that this exists. ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. And that thing that I read you just a minute ago from Virginia Woolf was actually one of the first experiences, not only of people who have experienced ASMR reading that passage, but also the passage is about ASMR, right? I mean, it really is about people who have a sensory experience from listening to the sound. And that has blown up. This didn't really have much of a stake in popular culture at Virginia Woolf's time. I mean, she was latching onto something that clearly impacted her because she described it so perfectly.
Yeah.
Like she has to have experienced something like this. But it really came in a Reddit post, back in 2007. It was a discussion forum.
That recent? Wow.
On on health related subjects on a website called Steady Health, and I love this bit. A 21-year-old registered user with the handle whatever submitted a post.
That checks.
Yes. Yeah, submitted a post describing having experienced this sensation when experiencing certain sounds, and he compared it to the feeling you get when you get somebody who scratches your skin, like with their fingernails, very very lightly,
yes,
right? That
right.
tingling, that tickling feeling that can be triggered by these seemingly sort of random events. For him, it was sound related.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. So I would like to run a little bit of a test with you, if I could, and see what you think. So I'm going to send you right now in our chat. I'm going to send you a couple of links. I want you to watch a few seconds of each of these and tell me what you experience. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So Tommy is getting ready to listen to these videos on his end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten them. My effort here is I want to portray some of the the sound that's going on here, but I'm not going to do it with the stereo separation. I'm going to hopefully minimize the sounds that trigger the ASMR effect. So if you don't know if you have a relationship to ASMR yourself, hopefully this will not trigger anything. But I for those who've never heard it, I want to give you a sense of the kinds of sounds that are being played without actually, triggering them. If you want to see if that works for you, we'll put links in the show notes and you can try them with headphones on and see if that works for you. But hopefully this won't be a trigger. You can hear a few of the sounds. If you are worried about being triggered, please jump forward about 30 seconds and we'll be back to the conversation. There you go.
Pete, I'm ready.
First one's coming through now.
Someone's rubbing slime against a microphone. Oh, this is what H.R. Geiger listened to fall asleep. This is slime on a microphone. Well, the visual is weirdly horrifying. The sound is kind of neat if I close my eyes.
Okay, it's interesting you say that because, many people report that in order to get the full experience, you need some sort of a visual. And that's why you have so many people who are producing this kind of material, and they do it, with these really beautifully produced videos.
Because it's all over YouTube, right? ASMR videos?
Oh, it's all over. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
So here's another one I want you to check out and see what you think of this.
It. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, you got to stop that.
Go away, lady. Okay. Oh. It's a woman just sort of waggling her fingers, and it sounds like birds. Oh, now she's talking. Oh,
Good evening.
she's got a secret.
My name is GB. Welcome to my channel.
I don't...
Tonight is a comedy.
Okay, I don't want to listen anymore.
Okay, all right, you're done listening to that. All right.
I don't know if I want... I think I find whispers to be malevolent.
Whispers, malevolent. Malevolent.
Wait, does malevolent mean bad?
Yes.
Yeah,
like
whispers.
dark and sinister.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Even though she was perfectly pretty and was smiling, I feel like she knows something about me.
Oh, believe me, if you're watching this video, she knows something about you.
Oh, good point.
Let's be clear. So the first one was the satisfying slime on the mic. And slime is everywhere in ASMR videos.
Really?
I spent 2 hours this afternoon watching different ASMR videos, and I am just blitzed out.
Wow. Congratulations on your new fetish.
Yeah. So slime is everywhere. They'll fill it with little styrofoam balls, so you'll get the slime like gooey sticky sound, but you'll also get like it's clicking in there, like this little fine clicking that you'll get in there. GB ASMR is one of the biggest ASMR video creators on the net. That was the second one you watch, and she records her voice a lot, and she whispers very, very close to the microphone. And so and because it's binaural audio, right? They're recording in deep stereo, so she'll move back and forth to each mic so that it comes around your head. You can't watch ASMR and get the experience if you are triggered by it. You can't get the experience unless you're listening to it on headphones. And the better the headphones, the better. You want to really isolate this sound. That's what you just saw. Now, did you find on either of those, did you get any of that little tingling, the sensation? Did you get any of that experience?
To be honest, I don't think I was able to relax enough.
Yeah.
There's something that was almost... It's so different from anything that I've heard before, and I listened to a lot of things to try to go to sleep. It was almost like an assault on my senses, ironically, even though it was so small. So no, I don't think I did, but I think I might be a candidate. What's it for?
I think you're going to find this kind of gross.
Oh.
So the ASMR effect is, when they look at what's going on in the brain, they'll put you in an MRI and they'll see what's going on in the brain and have you, push a button when you are experiencing the kind of euphoria. They call it a braingasm, the kind of euphoria that you experience when you're really triggered with ASMR.
Oh, no, I definitely did not. Okay.
So if you're, they'll get an enormous sense of pleasure out of ASMR. And what they compare it to is what happens when you have that generally sort of maternal but familial warmth that comes from being groomed. Like when you have your hair brushed when you were a kid and your mother is taking care of you and she's holding you and she's like grooming you.
Oh, so it's not sexual at all.
No. Not. You can say sexual on the show, Tom. You don't need to. That was weird. That was a weird little editorial thing.
I don't know.
A 5-year-old can probably spell sex. I think we've got that nailed. That was weird.
Oh, that's right. We said the word dildo 1,900 times in season 2.
Right.
We're all good. Vibrator.
Yeah,
Sorry, vibrators. Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
They actually compare it to primates, right? Who get pleasure from grooming one another.
Yep.
That's the experience that people are comparing it to. That's what's going on in the brain when this is happening. And they get this euphoria.
Huh.
I find that fascinating, but fascinating because while there are people who get enormous satisfaction out of this, there are people who are on the absolute opposite end of
like
the
our
spectrum.
pal Emma, it sounds like
Our pal Emma, yes.
Right.
And my own family, my wife and my daughter literally run from the room when I start playing an ASMR video.
Really?
And so it is,
which you do at dinner every night. It's weird.
I try to, when I want to clear the room, when I need some me time.
You just ASMR it up. Yeah.
I yell for the lady in the can in our kitchen to play some deep tracks, some tapping tracks.
Slime time. Yep.
I need some chewing right in my ear. Yeah. And so the comparison there is with misophonia, right? Where people in this community are saying like, this makes me hate sound. I hate sound so much it makes me want to curl up and die. Like it's a thing that I am aggressively against. And here's the thing that's so fun about this.
Yeah.
They compare this with synesthesia.
You can smell colors? No. What is it?
Well, it's not just about smelling colors, right? Synesthesia is when you have, like your wires are crossed between senses. You know, you might get your colors and numbers crossed, for example. Like when you read, when you see a 5, you kind of feel red or something like that.
That's right.
So
okay.
There's like audio-visual synesthesia or when you can sort of taste words. That's what they call lexical gustatory synesthesia. So there are all kinds of ways to get your senses crossed. In this one, imagine when you hear sound, it causes a physiological response to your body, right? It causes your skin to prickle, like that frisson, right? That sort of goose flesh, right? You get the chills. That is what they're learning about right now. What they're discovering is that, oh my God, this might be a form of genetic physiological synesthesia. You hear something, you get this physical effect.
Wow.
I think that's amazing. And also, I hate it.
Well, it makes so much sense. I never would have thought of it, but it makes so much sense that if someone is having an involuntary positive effect, that it just around the corner, that the idea that someone would have an involuntary negative effect, of course, if it's all physiological, out of your control stuff. Wow. That's scary.
I mean, it was scary and fascinating. If you are triggered by this stuff in a positive way, what a fantastic discovery. Like, what a great way to self-soothe.
Yeah, because it seems like YouTube's your oyster. And then if you're negative, then you're in Clockwork Orange.
That's exactly right. It's a real horror show, my droogs.
Yeah.
So the this big one that I played for you, GB ASMR is the name of her YouTube channel, and she has 1.6 million subscribers. Her videos have tens of millions of views. She's very, very popular, and she's very congenial. There is nothing about anything on her channel that is sexualized, but as with most of these kinds of concepts, my goodness, does humanity try to make it sexy?
What do you mean?
You don't have to go too far on YouTube to get the sexy ASMR, which is,
I get it. For sure.
This is what it sounds like chewing on your ear. It's really gross. And there are a lot of those. There is nothing in any existent research that indicates that ASMR is necessarily linked to sexual arousal. There's nothing. If you get horny from ASMR, that's on you. Right? Everybody has their own thing. ASMR is not intrinsically sexualized. All right?
Got it.
That's just it.
Yeah.
So you either find the good sounds or you don't. Be aware there are intentional ASMR videos like the ones we're talking about. There are also unintentional ASMR videos where people start reporting there's an entire like section of the internet cataloged as unintentional ASMR, kind of yay.
Oh, someone just tripped on it?
Yeah. People stumble on it, and so you can find playlists of unintentional ASMR. So, I would say say, I want to go back to Emma.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to offer to Emma is that you are absolutely not alone. More of us are not triggered by ASMR than are, right?
Okay.
It's a smaller population, not the majority. And in fact, ASMR is one of those things that people can numb themselves to. And so if you listen and you watch too many ASMR videos, they report that they actually lose the effect and have to actually stop watching their addiction.
Emma,
they have to curb their addiction.
I hear some exposure therapy coming.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, this association with misophonia and ASMR, I think, is amazing. It is absolutely, you're not alone, and you should wear it loud and proud because it is triggering. It is a real sensation for people, and I think people use it as a joke. Have you seen that ASMR video? It has a real physiological effect to a lot of people. Sometimes positive, sometimes negative. We need to be aware of when that happens. And take care to be kind to each other. That's ASMR. And now, Tommy, I would like to eat some macaroni real close to the mic.
And I want to hear that macaroni, Pete.
Let me know when I get closer. Open up the sky for me. When you say I'll dig much deeper, I will shout.
And that's our show. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. Today's tune is When I Get There by Maya Isaac.
Coming up next week. God, I really want to be the guy who can come up with a song about elephants and Thousand Island dressing.
Oh, no. You're not ordering an orgasm. You just want whatever she's having because you're filled with anxiety. Exactly.
Until then, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III. Thank you so much for downloading. And hey, tell a friend that you downloaded it. We will be back next week on What's That Smell?